Rover Metals, trading on the TSX Venture with the symbol ROVR, is exploring for gold in the Northwest Territories and already hit some nice intersections back in 2020. We are talking to CEO Judson Culter today, so to have a closer look at this exciting story. Welcome, Judson. Good to talk to you.
I feel welcome, Bjorn. Thanks for having me.
Judson, before we start discussing Rover Metals and its Cabin Lake project, please give our readers a bit of background on yourself and the Rover team.
Yeah, I'm an experienced entrepreneur. So this is my third adventure as an entrepreneur, just in partnership with the co-founder. So with a couple other people on our team. And prior to that, I'm actually a US and Canadian CPA. And so I worked as a controller with startups and really growth stage companies. And, you know, sort of have helped to raise over $25 million for just sort of the startup stage level company. And so my education and training is in corporate finance and accounting, but I've been in the CEO role here now for the past 6 years.
Who's working, who would you say is the most important other member of your team?
Well, for a mining company, we've got 2 mining engineers on our team, as well as we've got 3 geologists. And so our particular suite of mining engineers and geologists are familiar with Northern Canada. So that age of rocks, the type of discoveries, what to look for, you know, all the historical data, access to that. So we've built our team around a northern sort of discovery, if you will. And so really qualified management team. You know, one of our board members he sits on some of the water boards in the Northwest Territories. So the territorial sort of government body agencies. So he's been a geologist for over 40 years and semi-retired now. So yeah, a really good team for what we're set up to do.
Okay, and we're going to talk about that, what you're set up to do. Your flagship project is called Cabin Lake, as I mentioned, and is near the town of Yellowknife. Well, tell us a bit about the project, its location, neighbors, size, type of mineralization, infrastructure, really everything, really.
No, right on. Yeah, so Yellowknife itself, I mean, it goes back 70 years. There's been a history of gold mining. You've got the historic Giant Mine and Con Mine, which are actually built right on the city limits. So it's certainly gold mining is no stranger to the north of Canada. It's also, Yellowknife is also the gateway to Canada's diamond mines. There's lots of other mineral rich deposits up north in the greenstones, as well as proven in the banded iron formation type of geology. The Lupin mine, which is an iron formation mine, produced in the 80s and the 90s. And that produced 3.5 million ounces of gold at a grade of about 12 grams per ton. And so that's what we think we have here in our project at Cabin Lake is a very similar type of geology and potential for large scale high grade gold. And we're very close to the city limits. We're about 140 kilometers from the city of Yellowknife. So that really gives us access to the top talent in the north in terms of geologist discovery, as well as also just future milling capacity if needed.
Well, it certainly sounds interesting. And if I understand correctly, you also had a lot of historical information available on the Cabin Lake. Some resource numbers and some very nice historical intercepts. Please tell our audience about that.
Yeah, that's correct. The area that we're operating in has had over 15,000 meters of historical exploration. Our particular project, Cabin Lake, has had 7,500 in historical meters in historical drilling. So we were able to acquire all the historical drill records. We then, in 2018, flew an updated geophysics airborne and really identified the iron formation and helped to sort of structure the historical resource. There was about 85,000 ounces of gold at, you know, roughly 12 grams per ton. So the geophysics, in addition to digitizing the historical drilling, allowed us to plan the drill program that we did last year in September And the good news there is that we targeted on one of the historical zones, and we were able to bump the average grade in that historical area. And we also made a discovery of what we believe is an ore shoot. And we're calling it an ore shoot because in the north, what you find horizontally at surface typically will extend at depth 8 times vertical. Okay. And so what we have is that reported hole of, it's a 32-meter continuous drill hole that kind of zigzagged through that historical area. And that 32-meter hole returned 14 grams per ton gold. And so that starts at 17 meters from surface, so very close to surface. And it was roughly a 50-degree angle hole. So that's why I say we've got to follow that at depth, down plunge and down to depth with the next drill program coming in March. And, you know, just in that ore shoot area in general, the other historical holes that we were able to verify, you know, was 15 meters of like 16 grams per ton gold. So they were talking very high grade stuff. And if that were to continue down at depth, you know, I think we're well on our way to that 500,000 ounce resource category this year.
Okay, this year already, nice. So that you said you're going to follow these results yet from last year down to depth. Are you going also to go step out in the strike direction? So
that's correct. So the iron formation that we measured with airborne geophysics, if you were to pull it out at length, it would be about 15 kilometers. That doesn't give consideration to all the folding that happens underground. That makes it even longer. So along that iron formation, we have 12 additional targets as for potential ore shoots. And 3 of those 12 targets are brownfields where they've had historical drilling already. So we know there's high grade gold there. And it's a similar scenario where we go back in there, do sort of a zigzag drill pattern, try and identify an ore shoot near surface, and then follow it up at depth. And this particular drill program will be using a track drill. It's kind of like a tank with a drill on it. So we don't need to use a helicopter to mobilize to these targets. So we'll be able to very easily, you know, basically go from target to target you know, on this program. So it should be a lot more meterage and a lot more several targets we're going for on this program.
Okay, very interesting. Well, let's hope when it starts, the time for the results to come back from the lab will be a bit lower than it is today, because at the moment everybody's drilling and everybody has to wait a long time sometimes has to wait for a long time for the drill results. Let's say by the time you're finished with your drill program, that situation is a bit better.
Well, I think we've got a little bit of good news on that, and that's just because not too many people in Canada drill this time of year. And so we'll be in there, we'll be getting our core probably around the May timeframe, submitting that to the lab. And yes, there's a backlog right now, but hopefully by May, we'll be getting in there, and that'll be, you know, sort of a good opportune time to be trying to get our core process for sure.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Now you said you'll be able to go to the other drill targets or this sort of tank drill, I call it, and because you can have better access to that. I just heard news that is in the same sort of area that you're gaining better access to the project. You received the permit for an ice road at Cabin Lake. Please tell our audience why that is important for the company.
No, for sure. So the property, as I mentioned at the top of the interview, is about 140 kilometers from the city. And there is an airport 40 kilometers from the project. So the last exploration program, we flew by helicopter all the supplies from the local airport. But still, that was 40 kilometers of, you know, helicopter time, you know, getting the drill rig in, getting the crew in, crew shift, a lot of helicopter time. This ice road permit, which is now going to be good until 2025, so 5 years. Well, I guess 4 years now, right? But that will be a 35% cost reduction to our exploration program, because we'll be able to drive supplies in across an ice road right off the main highway and access directly to site, as well as, you know, be able to get our core out, our personnel changes, everything across the ice road, food in. So yeah, it's a huge win. And we've also the ice road has been endorsed by our neighboring First Nations. So that really, you know, is a huge, real, you know, like just success for us, because gives the project a future, knowing that the First Nations neighbors see this as an economic benefit for the region.
Okay, well, certainly it sounds like you're going to get a lot more bang for your bucks then in future.
Absolutely.
Well, then please sum up for us. Where do you see the potential for Rover? Why should investors, in your personal opinion, take position in the company at this moment in time?
Well, I think Germans are very familiar, and your audience are very familiar, the German-speaking audience, with the life cycle of a mining company. And right now, we're in the process of, you know, in this year, in 2021, bringing our first inferred resource as a company to market. So today we have, you know, our back of the envelope calculations unpublished is we have roughly 100,000 ounces at, you know, sort of 12 grams per ton. And we're undervalued because that's an unofficial, you know, internal calculation. So for us to actually, you know, do the work required to bring 500,000 ounces or 400,000 ounces, the valuation right now, you know, for other juniors on proven ounces in the ground is roughly $125 US an ounce. Mm-hmm. So you could just do the math. I mean, today we're a market cap, I'll just do it in US dollars. We're a $6 million market cap company in US dollars. You know, with 100,000 ounces, we should be double that. We should be a 12 million US dollar company. So I think really the market wants to see, in order to value a company like ours properly, that how many ounces do they have? Show us your 43-101 report, bring that proven resource. And I think for speculators and people that like to do their due diligence, once they dig in and see the value of our projects, specifically Cabin Lake, I think they'll see that this is a real value stock that in, you know, the near term, 6 to 12 months, you know, could easily be, you know, 2-3 time return.
Okay, well, that certainly is a very good closing remark, and we hope it all comes off. Thank you very much for taking the time talking to us, and we'll be sure to talk later once the drill, at the latest, when the drilling is underway. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bjorn.